We see our main character sitting beside his friend at school, and that friend is playing a game called Slave Collecting RPG. It's a game where you collect tons of popular heroes and make them fight for your cause. The game has a weird mechanic where you can enslave the hero you collect. The main character asks his friend how he captured this character called Zeus. His friend says that it was very hard capturing him because it took very expensive leashes. However, our main character very much hates the game because the bullies of the school uses the weaker boys at school to play this game in real life. They battle each other with their slave. Then we see that our main character, Jin Da-im, taking on Kang Dong-gu in a fight. Jin Da-im asks his master, Kim Kong-woo, for orders, to which he orders him to charge at Kang Dong-gu. And Kang Dong-gu obliges to the order made by his master, Lee Jin-woo, and goes on head-on to take out Jin Da-im with a vicious tackle. Lee Jin-woo is happy by the performance of Kang Dong-gu. He praises him for being a good hoss, whereas everyone can't help but wonder why Jin Da-im is so weak. Jin Da-im himself is very embarrassed by what happened, and he is also hurt. He realizes that even the cute girl in the class named Suji has seen him getting beat like this. We then see an angry Kim Kong-woo creep up behind Jin Da-im and confront him for losing the match. He asks Jin Da-im why he lost the match against Kang Dong-gu and says that he will be punished for it. He also says that the punishment will be decided based on how he answers. Kim Kong-woo's lackeys suggest that Jin Da-im had gotten weaker because Kim Kong-woo hasn't been torturing him enough. Jin Da-im apologizes for losing the match and promises to win the next time those two fight. However, Kong-woo doesn't want to have any of it, and he decides to bring out the taser he brought from home to electrocute Da-im. He also tells him to get stronger so that he can suit Kong-woo's status. We then see that Da-im is back home and his mother notices and says that she fell asleep and didn't realize and offers to prepare lunch for him. However, Da-im says that he wants to eat later. In his bedroom, we learn that Da-im wants to hide his injuries from his mother. He can't believe it that Kong-woo really thinks that torturing him with a taser will make him stronger. He also remembers that Kong-woo had ordered him to grind in the slave collecting RPG to get ahead in that game, because Da-im is good at playing games. Da-im was initially against it, however, Kong-woo threatened him with the taser and he had no choice but to accept it. However, he is unsure if his 7-year-old phone can even run the game. Then we see that the game would indeed not run on his old phone. However, he finds a very similar game by the name of it, as there is a game named School Violence RPG. He wonders if the game is a rip-off version of the slave collecting RPG and reads the description of the game, which says that the game is for the player to make their bullies a slave of theirs and to also nurture the weak people as strong and loyal helpers for them. Da-im wonders if the game developer had gone through the same kind of bullying as him. Just at that moment, he receives a message from Kong-woo who asks him to join him up at the park right at that moment, and if he refuses to come, Kong-woo will punish him accordingly. Scared by the threat, Da-im quickly goes outside to meet up with Kong-woo while we see that the School Violence RPG has started downloading. At the meetup, we see Kong-woo kicking and beating up Da-im for not showing up with money. Da-im says that Kong-woo never told him anything about money, to which Kong-woo asks just why would he invite to meet up if he didn't need money. After beating him up, Kong-woo tells Da-im to go home and bring back money. Da-im tells him that they have no money at home, but Kong-woo is persistent, so he tells Da-im to steal money from his mother and come back. However, one of Kong-woo's buddies tell him that Da-im's family are poor and that his mom is suffering from a big illness. Kong-woo asks how he knows about it, to which the guy says that he knows about it because Da-im has always been like a beggar at school. All of this talk angers Da-im, but he can't say anything. Kong-woo then asks Da-im if it's true that his mother is very sick, to which Da-im says that she indeed is very sick. Kong-woo then makes fun of the whole situation, saying that Da-im must be happy because his mother is sick and might even want her to pass away so that he can get the insurance money. They joke about this whole situation and even applaud Kong-woo for being so savage. Da-im's expression changes as he is super angry and it's looking like he is going to attack Kong-woo. However, Kong-woo notices the change of expression on Da-im and asks him what he thinks he is doing. Da-im comes back to his senses and says that he looks angry because there was something that entered his eyes. Kong-woo then threatens Da-im that if he tries to pull that expression again, Kong-woo will finish him off for good. Kong-woo and his goons then leave after that moment. Da-im is left self-reflecting. He can't believe that he just shut himself up despite being insulted and also having his mother be insulted. He thinks that he really is a loser after all. After that, he receives a notification from the school violence RPG game and wonders how the game has been installed as he doesn't remember installing it. He then checks and sees the game is running on its own and it tells him to capture a bully to enslave them. Later we see that despite not believing the game, Daim follows the game's instructions to move ahead 50 meters. Upon doing so, he finds Kong Woo and his group hanging out. Daim sees that the game is somehow showing Kong Woo's picture and telling him to drag a leash to his photo to capture him. He reluctantly follows the instructions and the phone shoots out a leash to capture Kong Woo by the neck. However, it fails. Daim can't believe it, but worse than that, Kong Woo and others are approaching him. Daim tries to explain how the thing wasn't done by him, but they won't buy it. They ask how is he supposed to believe that when he brought a leash to capture Kong Woo. Daim tells him that the phone had shot the leash and they're initially shocked, but then get even angrier as they grab him and start undressing him. Daim's phone drops out and Kong Woo picks it up. Daim is bothered by it as that's the one thing that he can't afford to lose. We see a flashback of 4th grade when every kid had a phone to play a game except for Daim. So he went ahead and threw a tantrum asking for one from his mother. His mother tried to make him understand, however, Daim doesn't understand and says that he will be ostracized because of his mother. The mother understands the situation and brought him a phone after hearing that. With that phone, Daim started getting along with kids as he was very good at playing games. However, not long afterwards, Daim starts getting rejected by the kids again because newer phones come into the market and the newer games can't be played with his phone because of lag. The kids call his phone trashy and old, and Daim once again goes to throw a tantrum to his mother, but he sees the landlady telling his mother to move out of the house because she can't pay the rent. This made Daim realize that his mother got him what she could, and since then, he has never pestered his mom for anything. So he begs to Kong Woo to not do anything to the phone. After all, it's an old phone and they can't even sell it to make money of it. Kong Woo says that the phone must mean a lot to him, but he still threatens to damage it unless Daim crawls between his legs. Daim, despite being embarrassed, decides to do it, and as he starts doing so, Kong Woo changes his mind and breaks the phone anyway. This devastates Daim, and he is sad that he failed to protect something so important. However, the game starts playing inside his brain. He sees a window of the game that says the game will now play in his head, and while he doesn't want to believe any of it as it doesn't make any sense, he ends up believing what he sees with his own 2 eyes and follows the instruction on the window which tells him to take down the bully to enslave him. Daim musters up courage and goes forward to take out Kong Woo. This angers Kong Woo as he can't believe that his slave is trying to attack him. But Daim avoids getting hit by Kong Woo and uses the chain of the leash to throw a brutal uppercut to knock out Kong Woo. After that, all of Kong Woo's friend tries to attack Daim, but the game shows that Kong Woo has been enslaved and that we will listen to any orders given by his master. So he asks Kong Woo to protect him, and to everyone's surprise, Kong Woo does just that and asks for more orders. Daim then orders Kong Woo to take out all his opponents and Kong Woo destroys them all. The game then shows a message that the game will begin from now onwards, and Daim realizes just what kind of power he has from now on. Sometime later, we see Kong Dong-gu being bullied by the resident bullies of their school. He is teased by them and beat up. They call him an elephant to mock him. They say that they want to make Dong-gu cry. However, just at that moment, Jin Da-im arrives to the scene to help Kong Dong-gu. He arrives on the shoulders of Kim Kong-woo, who is his new slave, and with his instructions, Kong Woo obliterates the bullies and the day is saved. We later learn that Da-im has figured out the ins and out of the game that is going on inside his head. He understands that he can capture bullies and make them his slave. He also gets a bonus potion that will boost the slave's ability and make them capable of using a martial art for 15 minutes only. So this is basically just a big old video game that is playing out in real life. Da-im then tries to capture the rest of the bullies as his slave, but he is unable to do so because according to the game, Da-im lacks leadership capabilities to have more than one slave at the moment. After all, he has just started out. However, he can level up as time goes by to add more slaves to his party. Just at that moment, it seems like Kong Woo snaps out of his trance and realizes just what he had done. He was being controlled by Da-im, and he had beaten up his own friends to follow Da-im's orders. This naturally pisses him off, and he goes on ahead to attack the weak Da-im. And Da-im himself is scared as he sees that his mindless slave has broken loose and things are about to get bad for him. However, in pure fright, Da-im tells Kong Woo to stop, and suddenly, Kong Woo stops in mid-attack motion, unable to land an attack on Da-im. The game then informs Da-im that he had just used the skill of ordering on his slave. Da-im then learns that all slaves, when first captured, are left in a mindless state where they will be doing nothing, and will essentially be under the mercy of the owner. However, once that state breaks off, the slave will come back to senses and retain the attitude they had originally. This can be countered by using an order skill though, which was just used by Da-im. Kong-woo tries to threaten Da-im out of this predicament, but Da-im has none of it and instead slaps Kong-woo and restrains him using the order. Da-im now intends to use the powers of this game to his advantage. Then we see that they're in the hallway of the school, where Da-im tells Kong-woo to beat up his friends. However, Kong-woo is livid and doesn't want to do it and thinks that Da-im is overdoing it. Da-im, who is now in control of things, doesn't take this lightly and shouts back at Kong-woo and tells him to keep quiet about this thing and just go and hide somewhere till it is time for when he needs to come out. This gets accepted as an order and Kong-woo runs off to hide somewhere. Da-im then further goes on to explain the situation to Kong Dong-gu and says that he will use this power to teach all the bullies a lesson and that he will do it in front of everyone at school. However, he has no friends at school to show it off to. Da-im then asks Dong-gu to bring out his friends from the Manhwa club so that he can teach all the bullies a lesson by picking a fight first and then inviting Kong-woo to beat them up. Dong-gu asks if it will be okay for them do it, and what if something goes wrong. Da-im confidently tells Dong-gu to trust him and that he will end all bullying ST school starting today. This cool speech inspires Dong-gu, who runs off to find his Manhwa club friends. Meanwhile, Da-im himself is impressed by his own words. And at that moment, the beauty of the school, Suji, shows up and Da-im really wants to talk to her. However, he remembers that he has a very low profile in front of Suji as she has seen him getting bullied and being a loser. However, he intends to use his gaming powers to take out all bullies and then ask out Suji on a date. Then Dong-gu comes back with his friends and they cheer on Da-im as he is about to go on a quest to solve the harassment issue at their school. In the classroom, we see 3 familiar bullies from Kong-woo's gang surround Jin Da-im and asks him just what had he done to Kim Kong-woo for him to have turned against them for him and beat them up. They throw around Da-im while they're asking that. Despite that, Da-im doesn't back down and tells the bullies that they'll all have to crawl on their knees for him today. This really amuses and angers the bullies, who are eager to beat him up some more. However, Da-im notices that a lot of people are paying attention and thinks is the perfect opportunity to pull his trick, so he calls out Kong-woo to attack the guys. The door opens right then, but instead of Kong-woo, it is Kim Byun-tae. Byun-tae comes right in and punches Da-im and asks him just what is he talking about. The other bullies explain the situation to Byun-tae, who can't believe it that Kong-woo did something like that. Meanwhile, Da-im keeps calling out to Kong-woo, which makes people think that he has gone mad because there's no response from Kong-woo. Further on, we see that the orders from Da-im are being rejected and the game window is showing that Kong-woo is not responding to the orders. Kim Byun-tae is even more pissed off now and he invites to take Da-im to punish him properly. Dong-gu follows Da-im and tells him to apologize because he knows Byun-tae AMD that he knows that he is a tough guy who causes trouble from past experiences. However, Da-im says that he won't be apologizing because he didn't even do anything wrong for him to say sorry. This seems to have touched Kong Dong-gu. Later in the toilet, we see everyone beating up Da-im and mocking him, and Byun-tae even asks him what secret he has on Kong-woo for Kong-woo to become his slave. Da-im wonders if he should leave ownership of Kong-woo and get another slave from one of these guys. However, everyone aside from Byun-tae is kinda average and won't be of any help. However, he wonders if he can somehow get Byun-tae, like how he did it by landing a lucky strike on Kong-woo. However, the other bullies warn Byun-tae beforehand that Da-im is sneaky and that he attacks out of nowhere, so he can't do that either. The bullies had also invited girls to the toilet, who say that they find this act boring and they don't want to see Da-im getting his beaten up by them. However, the bullies promise a special show for the girls. Byun-tae then tells Da-im to strip to his underwear, and while Da-im is hesitated to do so, he has to do it because there's no other choice, and Byun-tae already warned him on what will happen if he plans to not do it. Then Byun-tae tells him to take off his underwear and Da-im tries to resist again, but Byun-tae gets mad as he doesn't want to repeat the order. Da-im ends up accepting his fate as a loser and is about to take off his underwear when he hopes that Kim Kong-woo would somehow show up at the final second, and then bam! The door breaks down, but it's not Kong-woo. It's Kong Gong-gu. He comes to help Da-im, however Byun-tae is unfazed by this and asks if this is the rebellion day for all the weaklings. He asks Gong-gu if he should go back to his old ways. And that is when we see Byun-tae and his gang stripping Gong-gu naked and calling him an elephant. And back in real time, Byun-tae throws Gong-gu into Da-im. Daim asks Gonggu why he came, and Gonggu tells him about how the words from Daim, such as wanting to end the violence at school and also saying that he won't apologize without his faults, has inspired him a lot, and so even though he was scared to do so, he came to help him. Daim realizes that he needs to protect someone who trusts him so much, and to do so, he needs to get a new slave, but how will he get it? That is when Daim sees a cigarette lying down and gets an idea. He asks Donggu to smoke a bit and asks Daim for everything he has. Donggu does so, and this allows for the game to now recognize Donggu as a bully. Daim takes this opportunity to catch the quite strong B-tier slave in Donggu and gains full control over him like how he did with Kongwu. Daim realizes that Donggu is probably better than most guys already with his strength and gives him the special potion from before, which makes him an A-tier slave. The potion further gives Donggu the ability to use a martial art for the next 15 minutes. The style being sumo. The bullies laugh at them, Donggu in particular for doing a weird sumo stance. However, it seems like Donggu and Daim mean business. Daim sees a new objective that he can gain 3,000 experience points from knocking down Kim Byun-tae. Donggu has no idea why his body is behaving the way it is behaving, but through the game, Daim has a direct connection with Donggu and can talk to him only. Daim tells Donggu that he will be controlling his body for the fight, so he shouldn't worry. Daim knows that sumo is a very strong martial art and that it's about transferring one's weight to their palm to hit vital points and knock out their opponents. So as the first bully approaches Donggu, Daim orders him to swiftly land a palm strike and take him out, which he does. Donggu is shocked by this achievement, and the bully has his lights knocked off. The other two lesser bullies get ready to fight, however. Daim is ready and orders Donggu to land consecutive palm strikes to take them out, which he easily does. Now there's only one guy left, Kim Byun-tae, who is pissed off by this and asks Donggu if he wants a pummeling. Daim orders Donggu to do the consecutive palm strike move again, however, Kim Byun-tae stops it and pulls down Donggu by the collar and hits forearm and elbow strikes to his back. Daim keeps trying, however Donggu always gets caught, and it's obvious that he is losing concentration and is even refusing to do anything out of fear. That is when Daim decides to use one of the available skills, the sumo stomp. It's a skill that makes the slave perform a sumo stomp and gain back confidence and concentration back right away. After that move, Daim asks Donggu if he is still scared, but Donggu says he isn't. Daim orders him to hit palm strikes on Byun-tae, however he fails to do so again, and Byun-tae grabs him and hits him with a barrage of forearm and elbow strikes to the back. Left with no option, Daim Makia Donggu closes his eyes while fighting, then he won't be able to see Byun-tae and get scared, and as Daim is going to be controlling him, it will be all fine. Daim makes Donggu sidestep an oncoming attack from Byun-tae and get behind him to land a hit. However, he is unable to do so once again, as Byun-tae repeats the same thing again on him. Daim wonders just what kind of trauma Donggu has of Kim Byun-tae, and just at that moment, the game offers a cutscene that shows the trauma of Kang Donggu from the beginning. Daim decides to play the clip and he sees a calm middle schooler Donggu just doing his thing when Kim Byun-tae hits his back and yells pummeling. Donggu asks why he had done that, to which Byun-tae simply said it was something he did as a friend. However, this ritual keeps on repeating where he would hit his back whenever he had the chance and yell pummeling, and when asked about it, he would just say it was a prank. However, one day, Donggu reported it to the teacher, and that angered Byun-tae, who decides to brutally beat up Donggu for snitching him out, and he does it by hitting his back again. It got so bad that his school uniform started having blood stains, which he had to hide from his family and wash on his own. And that's how the trauma of getting pummeled started for Donggu. Daim understands that it's a very serious trauma and that he needs to step into the scene immediately. So Daim jumps into the beatdown that Byun-tae was laying on Donggu and strips Donggu of his uniform, saying that if he doesn't have the shirt on, he will have nothing to grab on and pummel his back. Donggu is still scared, but Daim tells him that this is something that he needs to get over on his own. If a guy like Daim can get over his fear and muster up the courage to beat his bully, then so can Donggu. And this fires up Donggu, who does the sumo stomp skill move to gain back confidence and concentration, and is ready to take on Byun-tae. As ordered by Daim, Donggu chairs at Byun-tae, who this time decides to grab onto Donggu's hair, saying that he will now grab onto his hair and give him a pummeling. However, Donggu is pissed beyond limits. He starts pulling out his hair, to the point he pulls it all out. It's revealed that Donggu was wearing a wig because the mental trauma given to him by Byun-tae caused him severe hair loss too. Daim thinks this suits Donggu even better because it is basically a sumo hairstyle. So then, Daim orders Dong-gu to hit Byun-tae with the consecutive palm strikes, and it all lands. This leaves Kim Byun-tae absolutely destroyed and knocked out. And as seconds go by, Dong-gu finally realizes that he has managed to defeat the mighty Kim Byun-tae. Dong-gu is elated by his victory, and Daim congratulates him on making it happen. He says that he has done it on his own, and that there is no other way around it. The game inside Daim's head told him that a special bug occurred which caused Dong-gu to get released from being Daim's slave after the final hit he landed, meaning that Dong-gu managed to do it on his own and broke free of the slave tag. The game also tells him that he has gained 3,000 experience points from completing the objective of knocking down Kim Byun-tae, and that he has now leveled up. He has now unlocked the special shop where there are tons of items for him to buy and use. Dong-gu then asks Daim if he can continue being a part of his quest to end bullying. And right then the game informs Daim that he has unlocked another game mode which allows him to have partners as well as slaves. Partners can act freely, but they stay on your side. Daim understands this and asks Dong-gu if he is sure about doing this, to which Dong-gu says that he is, and then Daim adds Dong-gu as his official partner for the game. However, leveling up has allowed Daim to gain another extra leash to get an extra slave, so he uses that leash to capture Kim Byun-tae as a slave of his. Meanwhile, we see Kim Kong-woo on the rooftop of the school, where he has used duct tape to restrict himself from being able to move, which is how he managed to escape the orders made by Daim. However, just as he is thinking about what to do next, Kim Byun-tae shows up and Kong-woo is very happy to see him. But to his dismay, he is told that Byun-tae has also become a slave of Daim's. Kong-woo is left horrified as Jin Daim approaches him and gets mad at him for escaping duty. He then punches Kong-woo and recaptures him as a slave. He then asks both of his slaves to follow him as they have an important mission. Meanwhile, in the classroom, two boys are mocking Daim for yelling out Kong-woo's name and says that he must be on drugs. Meanwhile, everyone else is also talking about it. Suji asks them what happened, and after her friends explain to her, she says that they should have complained to the teacher and helped Daim. Her friends ask her why she cares, to which we learn that she is the class president. The door then opens up, and we see a very proud and unscathed Jin Daim walk inside, commanding everyone's attention. Those guys from earlier are surprised how he came back without any real beat-up scar. Daim then introduces the bullies, who were carried into the class by Kong-woo and Byun-tae. The bullies, after coming back to their senses, try to rebel against Daim, but they're stopped by the slaves and made to kneel. Daim informs everyone that this will happen to every bully in the school with no exceptions. He vows to end violence in their school and even makes Kong-woo and Byun-tae kneel down to apologize. He then orders the bullies to apologize to everyone they bullied, return everything they took from them, clean up all the mess they made, hit themselves in remorse, and also run the track repeatedly to repent for all the mistakes. He manages to impress everyone in school by this, and even the boys who made fun of him buy him drinks and asks to join the committee in disciplining the bullies. However, Daim doesn't want them and calls them slightly less evil than bullies. People like them change sides based on who has more power. The girls are all talking about how Daim has brought order to the school, while some even praise his good looks and call him cute. Suji says that he is more of a cool type than a cute type, and then immediately gets flustered. After everything is done, Daim lets the bullies go, and he even tells Dong-gu to rest after a hard day at school. Everyone leaves, however. Just as Kong-woo is about to leave, Daim stops him and says that he will punish him for ignoring orders earlier. Kong-woo says that Daim said that people shouldn't bully others, so Daim shouldn't bully him either. But Daim is in his evil mode, and he says that he will only be disciplining him as his master.